All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Felipe Arevalo. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here at the San Diego Financial Literacy Center, DebtWave Credit Counseling. And today we're going to go over, it's part two of our series here. Today is Signs You're a Financial Enabler. If you missed part one, which was last week, go on, if you're watching this live when you're done, go back and check that out. It's on YouTube, it's on the DebtWave social media sites. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube or one of those social media, scroll a little and catch part one, but then make sure you come back and watch part two. So today we're going over signs you're a financial enabler, and you may not have even thought that you were, and you maybe don't even know what a financial enabler is. And my ring light just fell. We'll get right to it. First, what is enabling? Enabling, this is from Psychology Today. So it's a quote. Enabling, though it might sound good, means that the things we are doing or saying to someone are backfiring. We are unworthy of enabling our loved one to stay stuck, to dig their heels in even more. It's the last thing that we actually want, and it's the worst outcome for us and for the ones we love. This is any kind of enabling. Today we're talking specifically financial enabler, but it all kind of brings back to being an enabler. And it's not that the person is trying to be an enabler. No one says, "Ooh, I'm going to try and make it harder for my loved one." That's not what anyone's out to do. But sometimes it's done out of trying to be nice, out of trying to be helpful. So we'll also touch on what's the difference between empowering and enabling, enabling and helping. Sometimes there's a fine line. Just want to try and avoid being an enabler. So am I a financial enabler? now maybe you're thinking, oh wait, is that me? And through Hollywood, through media, we've seen some movies, shows, whatnot, that are like extreme cases of enabling gone wrong. I know in preparation for this, I watched the video documentary Step Brothers. I'm joking, it's not a video documentary, it's a comedy, but it's like enabling gone to an extreme level, gone wrong, especially that first part of the movie. So you may not be at that level, but am I a financial enabler? And we're not talking little things here, like your friends like, oh, I forgot my wallet. Can you spot me $20? Can you buy my coffee for me? Something like that. That's not what that's just loaning a friend some money. That's not enabling. Now, if your friend says, gee, I can't pay my rent this month, but I'm here at the coffee shop with you for the 5th time this week, do you think you could buy me some more coffee? Do you think you could lend me borrow some money for my afternoon coffee? Now we're in a different territory there. But if it's just a small, hey, can you help me out, and it's a one-off or that kind of thing, then you're not a financial enabler. You're just helping out a friend with a $20 bill or something like that. And so there's a difference, there's a line there, but I'll touch on in more detail here. Some of the signs you're a financial enabler is you're always giving, especially if you're always giving to the same person. You give them money often, gifts often, to the point where they just kind of rely on it being there as their form of support. They're not out trying to get their own coffee money. They just know you're going to pay for it. And if that's the case, then you potentially could be a financial enabler. So if you're always giving, obviously we don't all have Oprah money and can sit there and you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, unless anyone won that big Mega Millions jackpot. I don't even know if anyone won it, but if one of you did, maybe you can afford to give away cars. Although I wouldn't. Talk to a financial planner, tax pro, lawyer, and all that other stuff if you won the Powerball. And then feel free to donate to the SDFLC. You're if you're always giving, and especially if you're always giving to one particular individual, you want to check and see if maybe that's the case. I apologize. My dog has decided she's going to have the zoomies in the middle of my swim live. So if you give more than you can, if you find that you're giving consistently or sometimes puts you in the financial stress zone where you're giving and all of a sudden now you're stressing about money and you don't know how you're going to pay for XYZ. So if you give more than you can and you know that you're like, man, I can't afford to help this person out, but I can't leave them hanging. I'm always the one who's helping them out. I got to bail them out, even though I need some bailing out myself. That could be a sign that you're a financial enabler. If you support adult children, even when you can't afford it, you know, and I try not to use stepbrother gifts for every single slide of this presentation, but some of them were very fitting. For example, at the beginning of the movie, you see the relationship between the dad and the son, and then on the other side, the son and the mom, and you know, he's asking, you know, oh, I'm heading out of town. Oh, did you leave money for pizza? Yeah, I left you $20 for pizza. Okay, that's not enough. What if I want wings? So, and he's 40 years old, right? So if you're in a situation where you're supporting an adult children and you can't even afford it, you know, that could be a sign that you're financially enabling. When you know it's a bad idea, but you do it anyways, you know, you realize, you know, this is not a good reason to be borrowing money. You know, there's far better things, far more important things that you need to be doing with your money. But sure, I'll loan you the money anyways, or sure, I'll help you out, you know, or yeah, I know you really shouldn't be eating out because, you know, you're struggling to make your car payment or something, but yeah, I'll loan you money for sushi. Let's go. You know, that could be a situation where you can look at it from an outsider's perspective and say, ooh, that's not a good use of your money. That's not a good idea. So I'm going to help you out anyways. So you still go ahead and do it. That could be, you know, a sign that you're a financial enabler as well. Or I want to be a helper, right? We want to help. And this is kind of shifting gears to, you know, asking yourself, am I a helper? Or am I a financial enabler? And I think we, for the most part, most of us want to be helpful. We want to help people in need. That's a good thing to have. It's a good quality, right? We want to, if your finance is allowed, to be able to reach out and say, hey, look, I'm going to help you out. We don't want to be financial enablers, but we want to help, especially our friends and loved ones, right? So you're sitting there like, okay, this guy's telling me not to help people. That's not the case. I'm just saying, don't be a financial enabler if you can avoid it. Be the helper that you want to be without being an enabler. And here are some different ways to do that, where you can pick either being the enabler or being the helper. So do you address the problem or avoid discussing them all together? You know, if it's always, oh yeah, can I borrow money? Yeah, sure, here you go. And you want to bring it up. You want to say, you know, maybe you shouldn't be going out to eat so much. Maybe you should avoid going to the casino. Maybe you should avoid, you know, whatever it is that is causing that financial hardship. You know, and you're sitting there and you're like, should I tell him? Should I tell him, you know, I'm gonna let him borrow money, but should I sit down and have a conversation with them first? I'll tell him later. I'll tell him next time. You know, if you're avoiding that difficult conversation that you know needs to happen or should happen, you know, that could be the difference between being a helper and being an enabler, because maybe a helper sits down and says, look, I'm going to bail you out, but you really need to consider changing XYZ. Have you considered doing this? Have you thought about changing this part of your, to avoid this from happening again? So do you address the problems? or are you just avoiding it and hopefully it'll figure itself out type of situation? Especially with children, do you allow for and then enforce consequences or protect them from the consequences? Some of us are thick-headed and we just got to learn the hard way, right? Some of us need to take those bumps and bruises to look around and say, oh, that's what they meant, right? Yeah, I might include myself in that category. But do you allow yourself to sit back and say, this is your financial situation. You got yourself in debt. Get yourself out of debt. This is something you're going to have to face the consequences of your choices and your decisions. So, do you allow them to happen? Do you enforce them when you're the parent and you're the one who set the consequences? Or do you protect them from the consequences? Maybe not right now. Okay, one more chance. Or yeah, I'm gonna bail you out because I know that's tough paying back that debt at 24% APR, 29% APR. Man, they're really, really taking a lot of your money there in interest. Let me bail you out. Well, now they didn't learn the difficult part. They learned mom and dad are gonna bail me out. Whoever it is gonna bail me out. So do you allow for some of those consequences to happen? Obviously nothing extreme, but yeah, you paid twice as much as you borrowed because your interest rates were so high because you borrowed so much money. Instead of, here, let me bail you out. I got you. I don't want anyone to, I don't want you to pay interest. So do you allow for those consequences to happen? Do you insist that people take responsibility or do you make excuses for them? I think we've all seen people who make excuses for other people. Oh, why couldn't, why do they have all that? Oh, well, lots of things happen. Their car broke down and that might be true. Don't get me, people fall into debt all the time because cars break down. And so I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but if it's a constant making excuses as opposed to saying, look, they just aren't good with their money. They put no effort into budgeting and they're just spending too much. Or even directly to that person saying, you know what, I think part of this is you're just not making in the effort because it's really much easier to be free flowing, not worry about money, let's just rack up debt, than it is to be more disciplined with it and say, what, I can't afford that, or I can't do that, or I need to, remember where my budget went and go find it and look at it to see if I can afford to go, on the golfing trip, or to see if I can afford to go get coffee every single day at the coffee shop. I keep picking on coffee. I fell behind, so I'm barely on my first cup of coffee. So coffee's on my mind, I think. But is it important for them to take the responsibility, or are you always making excuses for them? Like, oh, well, they've been doing this, or they've been really busy with school, so I'm sure that's why they've been spending a whole bunch of money they didn't have. All the different excuses that can be made up. Do you recommend change in behavior, or are you afraid to bring it up? Sometimes, I don't know if you guys watch Bar Rescue, he's like very blunt to the point. This needs to change. Sometimes the loved one may need that from someone they love and trust, and have it be that wake up call, like, whoa, you're right. You're right, I need to make a change because that's not gonna work. The math isn't mathing, right? I don't even know if that's a really bad grammar, very poor English sentence, but is it, maybe they just got to hear it, and maybe they got to hear it from someone like, oh, I don't think mom and dad, or brother, sister, whoever, cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever, whoever told me that. I don't think they've ever talked to me like that. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe they have, maybe I should change or look into changing whatever this behavior is that's got me falling into debt. So if you're not recommending that change to the behavior, if you're not recommending, maybe you shouldn't do that. I'm gonna let you borrow money, but don't go spending it on eating out every single 2 times a day, every single week, or whatever the case may be? Or are you more timid? You got to be a little bit more, look, I'm helping you out financially, but I don't want you to keep falling into the same mistakes. You need to change this. Or maybe next time I'm not going to bail you out, or maybe I'm not even going to bail you out now until after I see changes and after I see that you're making that effort. Sometimes, though, it's hard to look in the mirror like Taylor Swift here and say, hey, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. And to realize, like, ooh, maybe I'm part of the problem. You probably not the problem, but you might be part of the problem as opposed to part of the solution. At the end of the day, it's whoever's doing the spending, right? They're the ones who have the situation that they've put themselves in. You didn't make them go spend the money. So I'm not saying that by being an enabler, it's your fault. But are you being more of the problem than more of the solution? And where your intentions are to help, but you're making it harder for that person to realize, to move themselves out of whatever financial situation they're in by enabling it, holding off on making excuses, making sure that they don't face any of the negative repercussions. Maybe you're being a little bit more of the problem, and you want to be, honestly, all you want to be is part of the solution. So, sit there like Taylor Swift and maybe have a conversation with yourself, and say that maybe part of the problem is you. I can honestly say my kids love that song. I'd never seen the music video. I didn't even know I had one. I don't know how I haven't seen it. So it's okay to say no. That's a big one, though. And I think that's across the board. No is a tough thing to say sometimes. If someone asks you for help, and even if whether you can or you can't help, it's hard to say no. It's hard to be honest and say, you know what, man, I'd love to, but no. It may hurt for me to see that you're going to pay, for this, or that's going to cost you so much money. But maybe maybe that's what you need. So it's okay to say no, especially if you're in your own little financial journey. You don't have the extra funds. You're on your debt payoff journey. You're trying to get out of debt. You're trying to fix some of the things, financially you don't like in your life, or change this financial situation that you're in. It's okay to say no. It's okay, at this time, I'm unable to help with that. I'd love to. I really would, but I just can't right now. I think that can go a long way. Allowing yourself to know that it's okay to say, I just can't right now. And maybe you don't even have to give excuses. You could just say, unfortunately, not at this time. There you go. If you want to, you could say, unfortunately, not at this time. I'm really working hard to pay off my debt. And I just don't have any extra funds. Anything extra, I'm throwing at my credit cards. I'm throwing at my loans. I'm trying to get out of debt. I'm trying to get myself in a better financial situation. So I can't right now. It's okay to say no. You got to take care of you. It's like the airplane analogy. You got to put the air mask on yourself before you go running around trying to put air masks on everyone else. Or you're going to end up in a situation where you're the one in more need than anyone else. So it's okay to say no. You got to practice at it, and you got to remind yourself that it's okay. Only give what you can lose. Don't. It kind of goes along the same lines of last week's presentation on should I let someone borrow money. You can go back and watch it again. Scroll up or down or sideways, whatever. It's the video previous to this. But should you lend money to family members? If you can afford to lose it, and there's a whole presentation on it, so go back, watch that one. But only give what you can lose, and teach your kids about money. I know the Step Brothers, the movie, is like extreme levels type thing, right? If you haven't watched it, they have it on Hulu. I think they have it on some other streaming services. But teach your kids about money. Teach them young to have their own responsibility. My kid didn't take out the trash yesterday. He was probably supposed to do that yesterday. He might lose $1 for that. that was what he was supposed to do. You know, someone forgot to clean the stairs a couple weeks ago. Someone lost money for that. And not because I don't want to give them their money, but because that was your job. You didn't do it. That's on you. And you know, so teach your kids about money, you know, so they don't end up, this is like, again, the extreme scenario here with the movie Step Brothers, but you know, you want to avoid that scenario where they're too dependent on you and you find yourself being the enabler. Or have them talk to a pro. You know, have them talk to, they got credit card debt, give one of the credit counselors at DebtWave a call and say, hey, look, you need to talk to these people, and you know, they need to go over the options that you have to pay off this debt, because it's just, you can't keep going. You can't keep going the way you are. I can't keep helping you. Go talk to someone. Or if it's something else, you know, we have our program, our Smart With Your Money one-on-ones. It's open to anyone. You could register, talk to a certified financial planner for free, 45 minutes online or over the phone, and ask them anything about personal finances that you might have a question on. The thing with this, or calling, you know, someone on our counseling team at DebtWave, or calling the SDFLC or something like that, is the person who you're recommending, hey, call these people, they have to be in on it. I have so many times over the years had parents reach out and say, you know, my kids at college, they're coming back for winter break, summer, whatever, and their finances are a mess. Can they meet with you so you can, you know, give them a plan, you can do their budget so they can kind of figure this stuff out? And I said, yeah, I can meet with them. I can help them come up with a budget. But unless they're really serious about it, unless they want to do this, it's not going to work. They can have a perfect budget, but they're the ones who have to go home and live with it. So you have to kind of, and everyone's different on how you might be able to encourage them, but you have to get them to take the step. You have to get them to want to talk to a certified financial planner, to a credit counselor, or just simply to just acknowledge, you know, maybe I should stop spending so much. Now, they don't have to go talk to a pro, but if you want to effectuate change, it has to come from them. And they're the ones who have to make the decision to ultimately to make that change or not make that change. You can kind of help guide them and lead them by no longer being a financial enabler, but at the end of the day, they're the ones who have to make that choice. So, you know, always kind of keep that in mind. They have to make, and I do sometimes mention, like, how do you motivate, you know, yourself, spouse, kids, parents, siblings, neighbor, whoever, to be good with their finances, whoever you're trying to help with their finances. And to me, it always comes down with goals. Ask them, don't even have to tell you, ask them what their financial goals are. You know, you're trying to help your kids with their money, you're trying to help your parents with their money, you're trying to help, you know, your siblings with their money. What are your financial goals? What do you most want to accomplish with money? And then to accomplish those financial goals, what changes do you need to do starting today? What changes do you need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, and incorporate into your daily routine so that you can reach your own financial goals, not what I think your financial goals should be, because those don't matter to you. Only your goals matter to yourself. So what are they, and how can you change today to get to your goals in a faster, more efficient way? Any questions? And you can also learn more. There's a DebtWave blog on the topic, enabling, are you a financial enabler? You'll notice some of the slides were borrowed from here. So Katie, good job. That was an awesome article. So you can read it there. And any questions? All right, so we went back to back this week from, you know, we were just swim live, and now we're 2 weeks out. August 23rd, high income earners plus record credit card debt. It's not just people who don't make a lot of money who fall into credit card debt. Sometimes it's people who make a lot of money who fall into bigger credit card debt. So kind of seeing and exploring the comparison. Sometimes people think, well, if I just made more money, if I just make X amount of dollars, then my financial situation would be fixed. That's not always the case. So high income earners plus record credit card debt. unfortunately, we're breaking records every quarter here in America on increasing our credit card debt. And that's a dangerous trend that we're on that really started going last quarter of 2022. So the Fed's raised his interest rates and all that, all our interest rates went up on variable cards, and there's a lot of debt. So there's a lot coming on with this one. Record credit card debt, high income learners. And if you want to keep learning because you're thinking, man, this guy's so funny, I can't wait to watch more of his content. I don't think anyone's thinking that, but check out the SDFLC Instagram and Twitter, or X as they call it these days, at SDFLC. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube and Facebook as the San Diego Financial Literacy Center, and I share daily little swim tips is what I call them. But a daily little, I mean, you think this one was short. We're talking 15 to 30 seconds daily tip on just something personal finances. Sometimes they're fun or funny. Sometimes they're, more actual informational. So you can always check those out. Follow us on all the different social things. Other than that, thank you for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you at the next or a future swim live. And thank you everybody for stopping by. Everybody have a great rest of your week.